Well, it's that time of year again where it's finally getting cold up here in Massachusetts. Snowmobile season starts in about 30 days. I think New Hampshire's first day is December 15th typically. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to get the sleds running today. I have two sleds here that both haven't been run since the end of last year, and last year we didn't use them too much. So we're going to see if we can get both of them running. You know, one of the first things that I do every year when I get the snowmobiles going is I check the trailer and do a quick walk around of it. A lot of the locks will freeze up over the winter and they essentially sit covered in salt because up here we salt the roads a lot. So we need to make sure that they all work. And in order to do that, we gotta hope the key goes in and it doesn't break. I also do a walk around and look at each one of the bearings on the wheels just to make sure that everything's okay and not too rusted. One of the other things that I do is I take out each one of the lug nuts on the trailer, because if you don't do that and you don't make sure that it frees up, there's a chance it could spin the stud. And when that happens, if you do get a flat on the road, you'll never get the wheel off to swap out the wheel, because you'll have a nut that's just spinning on the stud. Then when I finally do get on the road, I'll end up pulling over after a few miles just to see if anything's hot on the wheel bearing. If it's warm to the touch, that means you know you need to replace it. So I always try to do that early in the season. But I did actually end up replacing one of these wheel bearings in the past 2 years. I should probably clean these up too, because they are nice and cruddy, but you can see this is the one that I replaced. It's a lot cleaner than the other side, other than the dirt. Now for the moment of truth, let's go ahead and see if this opens. This one should, because it is a newer lock. All right, so in the trailer we have two sleds. We have my friend's 2001 Ski-Doo Renegade 800, and then my 2007 Ski-Doo Renegade 800. Each one of the sleds, they're in okay condition. His sled has 7,600 miles on it, so it's almost going on 8,000. Where mine, I believe I have actually 13,000 miles on it. Now, both of these sleds are 800s. Mine having about 13,000 miles on it. It's not on the original engine. The original engine blew up at around 10,000 miles with the previous owner. I guess apparently his son was driving it across the lake and wasn't paying attention to the temperature gauge. So he ended up overheating it, seizing the engine, and it was fully replaced by a dealer. So with mine, I probably have about 3,000 miles on it now that I've put on it over the past few years. You know, we do a lot of day trips. We haven't done any overnight trips. So we ride maybe 50 to 100 miles a day. So in the areas that we ride, you know, that's pretty much what you can get in if you're riding for about 8 hours. It's a lot of smaller backwoods trails. They're not the big wide open trails that you see sometimes in Maine or in Canada. And we typically ride in the Newfound Lake, White Mountains region of New Hampshire. Now on my sled, I have a battery cutoff that I put onto it. So there's a small blue dial here that I can just turn on and it will kick the battery on. This way it saves the battery, so I don't need to pull it out at the end of every year. So I have both keys, so I should just be able to plug them in and get them started. So we're going to start with my sled over here just to check to see the battery's okay. So it doesn't sound like the battery's that great, so I'm probably going to try to pull it over first by hand. Now, I will mention, my sled has never started first of all. Now, as I've gotten older, probably want to spend less time using the pull start, more time using the electric start, especially since this sled is hard to start. Oh, it's one that needs a battery charge. This one also has a dead battery. So, probably best to pull the batteries out for the winter next time I do this. Luckily, it's only been one cold day, so the battery's probably still okay. This one, you know, easier to pull start than mine. Well, it looks like both batteries need to come out and get charged. I don't know if it's me or what, but I can never get this Snowco Genius to work correctly. So I go back to my old trusty Stanley. I do have a battery trender charger, but it's actually in the other garage over there. So with this, you can see it's pretty dead. So we're gonna have to wait for it to get some charge before we can start the sleds up, hopefully before the end of the day today. With the new battery, the sled started up without a problem. I did notice that the key was actually beeping, saying it wasn't there, but after I ended up revving the sled a little bit, the beeping went away and it recognized the key. That's something I'm going to need to watch out for, but I'm really happy that everything's running the way that it should. Smoking a little bit, first start of the season, but hey, what better can you ask for? It's running. Okay, so the battery for my friend's sled is completely dead, so that's not going to work. I did end up ordering another battery. It should be here today actually, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to see if we can get the sled started without the battery by using the pull start. I pulled it over a few times this morning, tried to warm it up a little bit. It's a little bit warmer of a day, so it shouldn't be as bad to get running. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to see if we can get that running. And as you can see behind me, I actually ended up pulling my sled in the garage so I could do some small projects to it to get ready for the upcoming year. So let's go ahead. Let's go outside, get the other sled, see if we can get it started. So while doing this, I noticed that the red light for low oil was on. So that's something that I need to check. I'm pretty sure it has oil in it, and it had oil in it when I left it last year. I love the smell of two strokes. Yeah, it left the backyard just a little smoky. Alright, you can see that there's actually oil in it. I don't know exactly why that light was on. It is pretty low. So this sled actually, some of the oil leaks out and goes into the engine every year. And into one of the cylinders, and I don't think it fills it up, but it burns off the first time we run it every time. Now the good news is all the sleds are running, everything should be okay, so that means just tune up my sled, get a few projects done, we should be ready to go for this year. Let's go back to the garage and talk about what I need to do to my sled before this year starts. Alright, so I have a few projects that I need to do on my sled this year. Not as if a lot of them are going to be recorded or on this channel. One of the things that I need to do is I need to take the carburetors out and clean them. I do that every 2 years just to make sure that there's no buildup or gunk in them. You know, running these engines lean are pretty much a disaster, and if that does happen, they end up melting down and could leave you 100 miles stranded from your truck. So I got to go ahead and do that. I do have a video on that. I'll link it in the description in case anyone needs to see it. Now, some other projects I need to do to this is I need to swap out the Y pipe in the front of the engine. It's really not easy to get to. The reason why I'm doing this is because a lot of these are known to have pinhole leaks in them. And when they get these pinhole leaks, the engine can also run lean, which causes a problem where it could melt. That needs to get sorted out. I also got a new helmet this year, and it's a new oxygen helmet with a heated visor and a light. This doesn't have an outlet for a heated visor or a light, so I need to put in a 12-volt line from the battery or from somewhere all the way to here so I can plug in my connector to be able to use the helmet. Now, my main project videos always happen on the weekend. So you're talking the 69, talking carburetors, talking about the GTM, you know, all those happen on the weekend videos. This would be a weekday video, even though I believe I'm putting this video out on a weekend. If you're interested in seeing any of these videos on the snowmobiles, they'll be midweek. They won't interfere with any of the car projects. And with that, like this video, subscribe. I'll see you next time on Smackey's Garage.